Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode number 42 of Absolute Scenes. Follow us on Twitter at Scenes Podcast or Instagram at Absolute Scenes Pod or email us rouseroach.pod@gmail.com. As always, I'm joined by Billy Roach. How you doing, Billy?
Well done, Tom. I'm good. Getting all of those in. I'm very impressed with you, Tom, getting them in early because then we don't have to remember them again later on. No, yeah, I'm good. Hectic week back in work. I say hectic week. I had a day off yesterday because I'm only part-time.
Oh.
Yeah, so I'm off on so it's a 2-week rota. So I'm off on a Monday, week 2, and then I have 2 mornings off. So I have Monday morning off, week 1, and Friday morning off, which I'm quite annoyed about because I could have had, if I had a Friday afternoon off, I could have had an even longer weekend, but I'm not going to complain. But yeah, I'm good. How are you?
Yeah, well, having had 6 months off work, I'm now starting to feel tired. So a week in, exactly. So we started last Tuesday and now I'm starting to get tired. But very much enjoyed my change of job, my change of role, my change of level of education, would you call it? I don't know. But it's been very, very nice so far. So we'll hope that continues. But as I've given out the socials so early on, Billy, I'll just update you on some of the correspondence or update the listeners. Because there was no podcast last week because of we forgot because of getting back to work. But the previous episode, and I listened back to it, and Billy, I quite enjoyed it. But anyway, the discussion was about the toppings of chips. So I think that can you remember what one overall? I think it was curry sauce, wasn't it?
Yeah, curry sauce. So the options were curry sauce, gravy, cheese and beans, and there was one other one, salt and vinegar. The classic salt and vinegar.
So Shaky from university, Aaron Shakeshaft, he sent in a message saying gravy and cheese is the one for the topping on chips. I replied that it was absolute madness. He's told us to try it. You'll never look back. You've told him then you have heard of it. So have you ever tried it then, Billy?
No, purely because I don't like cheese. So it was just a straight thing. But I remember this is where the cheese and beans has come from as well, I think. Because with school dinners when I was in school, I think when chips were on the menu, I think it was like Friday or whatever, it was, you have these various other things. But a lot of people would have cheese and beans, cheese and gravy, cheese, beans, and cheese, the whole combination. You literally try and get as much on as you can. And I think it was pretty cheap as well. But from what I can remember, it's quite popular. Obviously, I'm not a fan of cheese, so cheese and beans or even cheese and gravy, I've not tried.
I'll tell you a combination that I would recommend to people is pasta and gravy. Because every time I've mentioned it to people are like, what? Oh, disgusting. But trust me, try it. And
is this with your? Do you do this with your waterlogged pasta bake or?
Oh, mate, I don't know if we've told that story on the podcast, but I'm not.
No,
I won't tell it again in its entirety. But just talking of different combinations of pasta as well. Of course, when I was at university, near the end of the term, when times were hard, when there was no pasta sauce left, I used to use mayonnaise as a pasta sauce, and that was it. So, But what I found yesterday, and me and Alice were cooking, we had a pasta dish, and she said, you don't need a pasta sauce. We literally had loads of kale and some nuts and some courgette and stuff all chopped up, whack that on top of the pasta, mix it all in together. Lovely. You don't actually need a sauce.
I think, don't quote me on this, but I think it is typically a British thing, I think, where we have loads and loads of sauce. From what I can understand, like the Italians don't have the amount of sauce that we have. It's more like a topping sort of thing, as opposed to, right, we're going to have 2/3 sauce, 1/3 pasta. I think it is more of a British. I think similar like with curries, how like Indian food and stuff like that, takeaway food. It's a case of it's a lot different. It's been changed by the British to accommodate our taste or whatever and stuff. But but then you did but you have you've put something out on Twitter, didn't you, Tom? Following on from
as the Shirt Lane said, we're asking the hard-hitting questions to the general public, and we're getting answers. This is what the people want.
Yeah.
So I asked, what are you having with your chips? There are 4 options. You've got fish, battered sausage, saveloy, and pie.
Yeah.
I was trying to think of the... there's another thing that you can... Is it scallops or something? Is that what they're called? The little, like, potato-y...
Scampi.
Scampi.
Oh, yeah. It's like... is it like roast? Not roasties, but something like...
yeah.
Yeah, something
I'm
like
sure
that.
somebody will let us know. But
let us know in the comments.
I offered that question up. Not as many votes as your poll, unfortunately. Half the amount, about 48 votes. And in 4th place was Saveloy. Have you ever had a Saveloy, Billy?
Well, when I saw the tweet, I was slightly confused because Saveloy is like a sausage, isn't it?
Yeah, it's like a horse's willy.
Yeah. But I thought, well, it's so similar to a battered sausage. You've basically got the same option twice. So I was like, but then I was thinking, go on.
It is different, but because you can have a non-battered sausage, you can have a battered sausage, and then there's Saveloy, which is like, it looks waxy almost, and it's like a red sausage. But I don't know what the difference is between a Saveloy and a regular sausage.
Yeah. Well, but then I was trying to think of what else, when you go to a fish and chip shop, what else you can have. And I was like, well, burgers, a burger,
Well, see, if we're talking traditional fish and chip shop.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
There's no burger in the fish and chip shop.
That's what I was trying to think. And I was like, well, you can have, the only alternative I would have suggested you put in instead of Saveloy would have probably been a battered Mars bar or something along those lines where you've got something just because, obviously when you go or what do you call it? I've forgotten it now. It begins with an R. Not an R. Faggots. But it's rissole or something along those lines. There's faggots or rissoles, you can get them as well, but obviously that will depend on where you are and stuff. But go on, carry on. So that was in 4th.
So Saveloy only had 6% of the vote. Then battered sausage, a shock 3rd place. I thought it'd be higher up than that. Only 23%. You thought it was going to be? You didn't think it was going to be as high as that? Yeah, you thought.
I thought it'd be 3rd. Yeah,
okay.
I thought 3rd.
And then pie in 2nd place with 27%, and then fish streets ahead, 44% of the vote. So classic fish and chips from the chip shop is the winner. I think probably we'll continue this kind of theme in the coming weeks with perhaps different types of takeaways. Next week, Indian orders.
Yeah. But I think just going on pies, I thought, I think fish was going to win. I think fish was most likely to win that, especially because you only have the one option of fish, because you can obviously have the various different options of fish.
Yeah.
But pies, I know, that especially where my heritage up north is from, pie and chips is very popular. And what do they call it? Where you have, it's a pie sandwich where you've got a pie within 2 pieces of bread. And things. Pies are the way forward, especially in my house. We had pie last night as to celebrate your tweet, Tom. But it's pies all the way, all the time. I think all 3. I think me, my dad, and my brother will have pie and chips if we have a chippy. Nice. My mum will have fish. I might venture out and have fish sometimes, but more often than not, it's a pie. What about you, Tom? What would you go for?
Well, currently in my being a vegetarian, I only have chips. I only have chips because the other option is to have a slightly different kind of potato in whatever it is, a rissole or whatever. Rissole's fish, isn't it? But whatever it might be. So
2 types of potato.
Exactly,
nice.
Potato in 2 different ways. So, but previously I would have had fish. In fact, the very beginning of lockdown, maybe the first weekend or something, I ordered fish and chips off Deliveroo or Uber Eats, one of those, and it was lovely. I had a large whale with chips, and it was very, very nice. But I'm going to move on to the next section of the podcast, Billy. We're going to keep this moving quickly.
Short and sweet.
Yeah. I've had an email, and I'm just going to read it to you. It's got the headline, please, I'm still waiting for your response from Professor Samir Azari. His email address is, I won't read all of it out just to protect his identity, but it's something at porncruise.com. To give you an idea of what we've got here. So, good morning. I was in your country in October last year, where I went to look for any member of your family. I was lucky to have left there before the pandemic took over and the global lockdown set in. What took me to your country is the issue of £23.7 million. Someone I presume to be your relative, because he shares the same family's name with you, was living here in Paris, died and left in our bank. Make of that what you will. Right now, my bank is planning to move this money into our treasury as unclaimed and abandoned monies. I can't fold my arms and allow this to happen when people like you and I can use some of the money to help ourselves and the poor around us. What needs to be done now to prevent my bank from taking this money is for me to immediately insert your name into the customer information sheet or account file and officially make you his heir. And once that is done, the money will automatically become yours by right of inheritance. Then we will follow our bank inheritance claim procedures, secure the funds, and then share it equally between us. Please, this has nothing to do with fraud, scam, nor hoax, because it is simply an inheritance. Trust me on this if you can, and get back to me with your direct WhatsApp telephone number as quickly as possible. Remain blessed. Thank you. Yours sincerely, Professor Samir Azari. What do you make of that, Billy?
Well, what can I say, Tom? Why haven't you emailed him back already? You could be a millionaire. You could be a multi-millionaire. You know, what's £23 million? What you could probably buy. I'm trying to think of a footballer who's gone. You could have bought Callum Wilson. Callum Wilson could be there, sat next to you now, doing the podcast with us. And you've blown it. You've absolutely blown it.
I know,
well, actually, you only get half. So you could have half.
Oh, yes.
Callum Wilson. So
yeah, well.
So have you had that email sent to you?
So I recently discovered, and I recommend everybody check it out, their spam folder in emails is a treasure trove of all sorts of stuff. I'll read you another one from Ali Ibrahim. Kindly respond urgently. Dear friend, I am Ali Ibrahim. I hope you're doing well and keeping yourself safe from the coronavirus pandemic. I have a good business proposal for you. There are no risks involved and it is easy. Please reply for briefs and procedures. There's all sorts of very, very entertaining stuff. If you scroll through all the adult emails that I've received, there's another one here offering me $50 million US. Can we trust you? Can we make a big plan for long-term mutual business relationship? All they need is my full address, full names, contact details, and valued ID copy. So if you haven't recently, look in your spam folder because you will find millions of pounds. That's all I want to say. Just to disclose, don't actually reply to any of them with any of your information. They're all fake, but they're very entertaining to read. Have a look, Billy. Have you got any treasure trove?
I haven't got any purely because I swiped them through. So I probably did, and I've deleted them as I go. But have you seen? Is it James Veitch? I think it's Vetch.
A couple of weeks ago. Well, it was about a month ago now. Alice and I, we wanted to watch Phil Wang, and there's an app called Ents24 or something like that, or Ents something. Gig Alert, and it went off. Phil Wang's doing a stand-up online on Zoom, and James Veitch was one of the warm-up acts, and at the time I didn't really know who he was, but then since then he's propped up on my YouTube quite a few times where he emails back, he responds to these scammers, and I did think about doing it, but then he does say at the end of his stand-up that if you email back to him, they know it's a live email address, then they will keep on spamming you. So I might set up, or maybe from our own account, Billy, we might do some, because we don't get any emails.
We might do that because no one else emails in other than what's his name, Raven
Rob.
Raven Rob. But no, it's him, and then Joe Lycett, I think, does a couple of things as well. with it and stuff. But James Veitch, he does the if he has a text from an unknown number and they've texted him by mistake, that's one of my favorite acts that he does. Is he talks about someone wants to talk about installing a thermostat on a radiator, and there's this whole plan and stuff. If you haven't seen him, go find him on YouTube, because I think he did like something at the Edinburgh Festival and things. That he's on TED Talks and stuff like that. He's brilliant.
So I think you spell Veitch, 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 I think is how you spell it. So go and have a look at that on YouTube. Yeah. What were you going to say then?
I think Spam a lot. I think that he did like a series on YouTube, and I think it was called Spam a lot. So it might be if you type in either James Veitch or that, it could come up and stuff. But it's good. Keep us posted, Tom, on your millions.
I will, I think I might try and do a James Veitch. I might respond to them and see how far we get. But that was because I forgot to research some funny news stories this week, because that was going to be our regular feature, but it happened once. So when it's Billy's turn next week, he can do that again. Yeah. Or maybe Billy, that can be your feature every week, and then I'll do something else every week because.
Well, you've got the spam emails every week. There we are.
Yeah, okay. Spam.
There we are.
Spam Central. So
Tom Spam.
You've got... Well, let's have Billy's funny story then, shall we?
It's not a it's a funny story, but I'm not going to give you the full details because I've done it in work this week. So for pure disclosure, I'm not going to, just in case it ends up getting me in trouble, I'm not going to tell you the exact story, but I'm going to tell you where I learned it and the story behind it there and stuff like that. So I went to Camp America for 2 years, well, two years, but 1 year and then a break and then another year. And that's where I learned it. But Tom, with you being in a new school and learning probably about your new pupils and stuff, I would highly recommend that you do this. Anyone who's starting a new business or you're going back to the office and doing stuff like that, doing games like this are brilliant. So one of the games that you've probably seen online, which is my favorite one to do, is the communication game. So the game that it is, you get everyone to stand in a line and they'll all face one direction. So for example, you can have them going from right to left and they're all looking left and it's a single file. You've got one person at the back and I'll pull that person aside and go, and I'll tell them, right, this is what I want you to act out. So it could be anything whatsoever. So the one that I normally start with is, right, I want you to pretend you're riding a motorbike. So you've got to start the motorbike, pretend you're driving around, but you've got to remain on the spot. You can't just go wandering around. And then they pass it on and it goes all the way down the line. And as you can imagine, as it goes down the line, it changes slightly because they can't talk. So it's all they're doing is this action. So it might be like they're revving for those of you who are listening on the podcast, I'm now going through some actions. So I'm, rev the handlebars, and then you start going around like this. And as it goes down the line, because obviously the person who you're telling doesn't know exactly what it is, they're trying to guess, and it goes down. So it goes further and further. Once they grasp the concept, then you can start getting them to do ridiculous things. So the next one that I normally do is, right, you're riding a bicycle or you're skateboarding and you fall off. So obviously then they go in, if they're skateboarding and then they fall, you've got the person looking at them going, you want me to fall? And they're like, yeah. So it's going down. My favorite one that I did though was with my year 12 pupils. I did it with the whole of year 12. And it was, I want you to pretend you're feeding a chicken. And this is what they got there. It's brilliant. It is absolutely brilliant where they're pretending to feed a chicken. And it's so funny to watch because you're just stood there and then all the rest of the group are watching as it goes down the line and they're seeing how it changes and they're like, how have they gone from this to this? And what I normally do at the end is go, right, this is what we ended with and you've got to try and guess what it is. And it's obviously completely different. Like it could be like they look like they're doing a hula dance, and that's what one of the answers I got was. And they started out, I'm feeding the chicken, and you show them what they've done, and it's that to do with with a group of kids. It's so much fun, and obviously there's loads of other ones, but trying just to show the importance of communication, it's one of the funniest things to do is just to watch their faces. I'm going to be doing it all week this week with my pupils, just because it's such a great icebreaker because they get to know you as a person, that you've got your humorous side, which I know for you, Tom, is quite hard for you to get across because you're never sarcastic. You're such a dry person and such rigid with the rules. Yes. But yeah, try it. It's one of those ones which I think you've got to try yourself just to see how brilliant and how funny it can be. But I did it in America. There's various other ones where we did like rock, paper, scissors tournaments, and the loser has to follow the person who beat them around, cheering them on as their cheerleader, and the crowd's getting bigger and bigger, and then you have this final face off, and you've got them cheering it on. It might get your fixed on because I know you're missing the football, but it's so funny to watch these kids going crazy about rock, paper, scissors, and you can add to it and change it. I know some people, they do it's like wizard, wizard, elf, dwarf, or something like that, and they have different actions. So instead of it being rock, paper, scissors, they have like swinging an axe or you're casting a spell or something. But yeah, try them, Tom, this week. That's your challenge this week, especially because I know you'll have your classrooms and stuff. PSC lessons. Go on.
Yeah, I will. I'll do that. But you just reminded me, because it's crept up on everybody, I think. But the Premier League season starts on Friday. You've just reminded me by saying I'm missing something. Yeah. I've also forgotten that we made a video about a month ago talking about our favourite Premier League ever, or what we deem to be the ultimate Premier League.
It's the it would be from the teams that have been played in the Premier League. We have created our top 20 or our all-time league from the Premier League. So it might not be the best teams that have necessarily been within the league, but it's who we think should be in the Premier League, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So that'll probably come out. I think you've set it up to come out one day this week.
I don't know if I've done it. Yeah, I've just remembered, and I don't know if I have set it to go out. I'll have to make sure that
it might be out. We are supposed. We are supposed to be doing another video of the worst teams that I've ever played in the Premier League, which will be going out the next day. So if that's gone out today, then tomorrow we're supposed to be recording another episode. As you can tell, school life has taken over us. But
it's not like
are you excited?
We haven't had 6 months to sort it out, but never mind. Am I excited about the Premier League starting? No, not really. It's very much at the back of my mind at the moment. Until I can actually go to a game, I think my interest has really, really waned. Although I am very excited with the signings that Wolves have made over the weekend and the ones that we're linked with now. However, the fact that I'm not going to see these players in the flesh and maybe never see these players in the flesh, because there's some rumours about, I think there's some games in Scotland over the weekend that are happening with a crowd. There's been a couple. Chelsea played Brighton, didn't they, a couple of weekends ago in front of a very small crowd. It's possible that I might go to some games this season, but it won't be the same without the whole atmosphere or sitting in my seat, which I don't imagine will happen. So, and it's not even as if like we've had enough time to miss it. You know, like when the season finishes in May and you've got to wait until August for it to come back. It's quite a long wait. Mm-hmm. Wolves played their last game in the Europa League on about I can't remember when it was, about the 20th of September, something like that. So it's been 20th of
20th of September. I was like, Tom's still in.
So it's only been about 3 or 4 weeks that Wolves haven't played. Yeah. Sorry, there's a cat screaming at me somewhere.
No, it's the.
Sorry.
It is. I know a few people have said we're not going to spend hours now talking about football, but it's coming up, and we are not excited, but it's like it's not gone and stuff. And I'm looking forward to seeing our new Galacticos era, as it were, similar to back in 2003.
I wanted to ask you about that because I've seen quite a few scouting pages on Twitter that have not slated your recruitment process, but has said that. It's said that it's not in as much detail as you would have thought. So you've got somebody like, I can't remember the exact details because I can't remember who you signed exactly, but people like Kai Havertz and Pulisic, for example, or Werner and Pulisic are very, very similar players in terms of their heat maps. So what's been happening in pre-season? Has there been a pre-season for Chelsea or what?
So I think we've got a game coming up. We had the Brighton game, and from what I can understand is we're going for if you think of Liverpool, they've got a fluid front three. Whether that's what Lampard's going for, I don't know. Whether they're going down that sort of model where everyone can play, we can play in multiple positions rather than going, right, we've got an out-and-out striker. That looks like the thing, because I think Werner can play out on the wings, as can Havertz, and then they can both play centrally. Obviously, we've got Giroud and Abraham, who are the traditional strikers. Pulisic is obviously traditionally a winger, as is Hudson-Odoi. So I think they're trying to make this more fluid front three, from what I can tell. But yeah, I think until the season starts, it's going to be hard. There's not been many games where we've been able to see what the plan is, especially, Havertz signed, so it could be a slightly right, Pulisic on the left, and then we're rotating from there. Ziyech is obviously coming as well. Ziyech, I'm not entirely sure how you pronounce his name. But yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing how it comes and what's going to happen with the youth now that I got introduced last season. But I'm quietly confident we should finish third. I think most people have got us finishing third, being the best of the rest after the two top teams. But we shall wait and see. I think Lampard's head might not be on the firing line because his contract runs out at the end of the season. So I think they probably will give him the entirety of this season, unless he's down in 11th or something ridiculous like that. But I think for the most part, we've got the Champions League as well. So we'll wait and see. But yeah, it's one of those things to look forward to. I think I'm doing, I don't think you do it, but I'm looking forward to doing my fantasy football, which I normally do every year with Stuart. I've got a name. My name, I think, is quite good. I'm quite proud of it. It's Finding Timo. It's probably one of the better ones I've had over the years because of Timo Werner. Good. But yeah, it's compared to what I normally have, I'm quite proud of it. So yeah.
Very punny indeed. I've just been looking at Twitter while you've been chatting there about Wolves have been linked with quite a shock signing over the last 24 hours or so, and that's Alex Telles from Porto. We've also linked with, we have signed, I don't know his name, Silva. I can't remember his first name, but he's
Fabio
Silva. We're going to sign 2 other players as well from Porto. So if there's any Porto fans who are missing these players, we've also got Neves who played for them, Jota played for them, Bolly played for them. So we are just Porto's alternate universe. In 2 or 3 years ago, this is what their team could have been like at this point. But again, I mean, it's amazing to be linked to the kind of players that we are, but we'll wait and see, because there's no usually Wolves do so well because Nuno has 2 months with them in pre-season and really drills them and stuff like that. He's not going to have that this season, but he's sort of buying better players, so you would hope that they'll be able to blend into it well. So you think Chelsea are going to finish third, do you?
Third. Yeah.
Now I said on a podcast a couple of months ago that Wolves are going to finish fourth, I think. Which I also said last season. If I keep saying it, eventually it will happen.
It's going to happen. But then, Tom, you said you kept saying Bournemouth were going to be relegated, and then the year that you didn't say they were going to get relegated, they got relegated. So maybe you need to bank them up with the years with the Wolves not finishing fourth, and then they will finish fourth. So I think
so. I'll go for fourth.
Maybe
next season I'll go for fifth, and then we'll do it.
Yeah, and then you'll get it. Cool.
Yeah.
Awesome.
So, are there anybody? Well, actually, I want to ask you another question, Billy. Have you been watching the Tottenham documentary?
I haven't yet because I wasn't sure whose recommendation it was this week. So I've been watching another series on Amazon Prime.
Okay.
Because I know you're going to be recommended now. So I haven't watched it because I've been watching something else on Amazon Prime instead. I think the problem I didn't realise, I've been watching The Boys on Amazon Prime, which is it's a superhero film, but it's almost the roles reversed. The superheroes are the villains. They're arrogant people, and they're commercialized and things like that. So if you haven't watched it, watch it, because it is quite refreshing in that sense of it's not your traditional. Whereas the vigilantes are the heroes, and the heroes are the villains, if that makes sense. Not all of them, but most of them. You quickly grasp. Have you watched it?
No, I know that Alice has, and she's excited that the second
Yeah.
series is out.
So I didn't realize that. Go on.
No, go on.
I didn't realize the second series was out, so I thought, oh, they're similar to like on Netflix where they drop everything at once, but no, they're doing it week by week. So I've watched the first few episodes and then realized I've only got one more episode. So then in between me watching episodes, I'll probably watch the All or Nothing, because I like the All or Nothing. They're very good. I watched the American football ones as well, which I will try and get you to watch, so at least then you've got some idea of when the Super Bowl comes around and I'm talking about it again. But yeah, I would definitely, I think if that's not your recommendation, recommend anyone go and watch the All or Nothing, even if you're not into sport, because they are really good.
Yeah, so it's not my recommendation, but what I was going to say about it is that having watched the Manchester City one and now part of the Spurs one, I would 100% prefer to work for Jose Mourinho over Pep Guardiola. He seems like, I don't know whether it's a bit of a show because he sort of knows that the cameras are on him all the time, or whether he's genuinely like this, but he seems a lot more reasonable than Guardiola. Guardiola just seems so erratic, like in the changing rooms and stuff like that. He's like, one moment he's really calm, and then the next he's going all crazy and shouting at them, and that seemed like it was really for show, whereas Mourinho seems really composed, and he's, because he's a little bit older, I suppose he's a bit of, and he's I suppose they've got comparable careers as well in terms of what they've won. Although I would argue Mourinho is more successful because he's won 2 European Cups with 2 different clubs.
And I would argue, because obviously Pep's a former player, whereas Mourinho's obviously not been. So there's a slightly different, whereas Pep's probably seen, managers and been coached by various managers, whereas Mourinho's worked alongside, different, very successful managers. He's not been on the other side of the grilling, if that makes sense. I've heard similar things from people who have watched. I've also been laughing at various people asking me not to be spoilt, the All or Nothing series, not realizing that it's not a fictional show. It's fact. It's going to be this. We already know what's going to happen. Especially if you follow football, you're going to know what's going to happen. Which is why I think I enjoyed the American football series a lot more, because I wasn't entirely sure what was going to happen with those teams, whereas with the Man City and the Tottenham ones, I know what the end goal is going to be. But yeah, let's go. But what is Tom, your recommendation this week?
So my recommendation is that time. Although I've got one more question to ask before we finish. My recommendation is that people should go into their gardens and they should grow their own vegetables, because Billy, at the beginning of, well, not the beginning of lockdown, sort of mid-May, beginning of June, we had some raised beds in the garden. We had a couple of buckets, and now we are reaping what we sowed. So we've got, 2 quite small buckets, and there was 3 or 4 potatoes put in each of them. We've now reaped about, I'd say there's about 100 potatoes, probably. 100 new potatoes. We've got kale, sort of like 2 or 3 foot high. Courgette. We've got some carrots that we haven't quite pulled yet. The carrots have been a bit of a failure, to be honest, but it's all a learning curve. And for next summer now, we know how to do certain things. So it was quite wholesome over the last couple of days. We've had like shepherd's pie, vegan shepherd's pie, and a couple of other things. We've used a lot of our own veg to make. So it's been, and then every morning, obviously during lockdown and stuff, I was walking up and down the garden, watering everything, and it was a very wholesome experience.
It'll be interesting to see. Obviously now, like you say, it's over the summer, over the winter now. Obviously, you're probably not going to grow much anyway. But if maintaining it over whilst you're back in work and stuff, obviously, I know you're at the minute enjoying. Obviously, we've only just gone back, so the levels of marking probably aren't the same as what they will be in a few weeks' time. But once work starts kicking in, whether we're still able to maintain them. Just on carrots, Tom. Carrots are probably my favourite word in Welsh. Can you remember, Tom, what a carrot is in Welsh?
I can. Moron.
Yeah. That's one of my favourite words. That and microwave, which is popty ping, are up there.
I don't know if there are any Welsh speakers who listen, because apparently that's not the word that
it's not true.
Welsh speakers use.
It is slang for it. It's slang for it, because there's that, and I think Pusgod Wibbly Wobbly. I'll let the listeners try and guess what that is. I'll give you a clue. Pusgod means fish, so it's a wibbly wobbly fish. You can try and work it out what it is. But Pusgod Wibbly Wobbly, I think that's the same as well. But it's the same as jellyfish not being the technical term for a jellyfish. Right. I've just told them the answer. But it's it's got some Latin word or whatever. But yeah, they are quite good. But yeah, I know we have looked at doing it. It's quite difficult with my parents where they currently are at the minute, because there's not much grass. It's because we're right by the river as well. We've got water rats which live alongside the river, because water rats. It's not a case of river rats, so it's quite difficult because they'll struggle. But yeah, I know a lot of people who recommend, I've recommended it just for the benefits of it as well and stuff. But yeah,
it's also not that much. It's not that much work. I always thought there was going to be loads of like pruning and stuff, but it's relatively straightforward, and you do get results quite quickly. The courgette plant we've been eating for a couple of months, and it keeps on providing. But my last question for you, Billy, is how's your new podcast going?
It's going well. So episode 1 came out last Wednesday. We haven't actually discussed, is this going out on Thursday or is this going out tonight? This episode.
It's going to go out tonight. We're moving back to the Tuesday slot.
Tuesday. So the next step, that's the reason why I ask, is because episode 2 will be out tomorrow if this is going out on Tuesday, whereas it would have gone out yesterday if it was going out on Thursday. That's why I was asking, because I don't know whether I'm speaking in past or future tense. So yeah, episode 2 will go out tomorrow. That's with Adam. I mentioned, I think, him last week, and his experiences. I'm recorded another one ready for the week after with one of my American friends, Anna. She talks about being a solo female traveler, and then the following week, I can fill you in on them the next week and the week after. But yeah, the next 2 are going to be really good. They're really contrasting as well, because they're not like, as I know we spoke about you being afraid that you're not really technically a traveler, as you would say. But it's Adam, similar to sort of you, has done more of the ready-made tours, whereas Anna is more my style and gone, right, I'm going here, and then figuring it out when she gets there, sort of thing. So yeah, they're quite contrasting and quite good, so if you don't listen, I think Tom will probably hopefully add my links wherever they need to go on the podcast or on the YouTube places.
just tell everybody as well what it's called.
Absolute. It's called. I nearly said it's called Absolute Scenes, but it's not called Absolute Scenes, because that's what this podcast is called. It's called a backpacker's guide to travel, is what it is. Similar to the famous, taking inspiration from a famous book. I'm trying to figure out what that is. So I was quite happy with the amount of listeners I had. So hopefully it continues to grow, and we'll be millionaires before you get back your correspondence from the doctor.
Well, talking of that, Billy. I'm going to let everybody behind the curtain, because there's been adverts on these now for a couple of weeks. We're now up to a huge, I don't know if you want to cash this out yet, Billy, but we've got between us £1.29 in the bank from adverts. Do you want to save that, or do you want to take it out now?
I think we should let it. I think we should let it roll. I think we should let it roll. I don't think we should use it for an accumulator just yet. Give it a couple of weeks, and then we'll take that £1 and put it all on red.
Put it all on red. Indeed. Right, well, it's been another great podcast. Let us know if you've got anything that you want us to talk about, or if you've got any things to say. If you've been bitten by any animals, that was one of the questions that we had before, or any board games, catastrophes, you can talk about them. And now I think we're going to look at Indian food next week, Billy. That's going to be our
question.
Topic. That's going to be the question for the people. So let us know in the emails, rouseroach.pod@gmail.com, your Indian orders. For the meantime, we'll be seeing you next week. Look after yourselves. Don't get locally locked down. Bye-bye.
Bye.